Ladies and gentlemen, this world is not served by your smallness. You were not born to settle, you were born to soar. So today, take the first step. Declare a new identity. Claim a new vision. Take action with boldness, with fire, with faith. Age is often seen as a ticking clock, a limitation, or a reason to slow down. But that belief couldn't be further from the truth. Age is not your enemy, it's your ally. It's not a dead end. It's a launch pad. Every year you've lived has given you more insight, more perspective, more strength, and more clarity. Society conditions people to believe that youth equals opportunity, and that as you grow older, your chances shrink. That mindset is not only toxic, it's entirely false. The truth is, reinvention, transformation, and personal evolution are available at every stage of life. In fact, for many people, it's only with time and experience that they finally gain the courage and the clarity to step fully into who they are meant to be. The belief that you're too old to chase your dreams or start over is not rooted in reality. It's rooted in fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of failure. Fear that it's too late. But those fears lose their power the moment you decide that you are no longer bound by other people's timelines. You see, when you're younger, you often chase what others expect of you. Approval, acceptance, a sense of fitting in. But as you age, you begin to see life more clearly. You stop chasing validation and start seeking meaning. That is power. That is the beginning of transformation. That is your launch pad. People who achieve great things later in life do so not because they're lucky or special, but because they finally chose to act. They took the wisdom of their years and turned it into fire. They stopped worrying about what they should have done and started focusing on what they still could do. You don't need to be 20 to be bold. You don't need to be in your 30s to chase a new dream. You just need a reason and a refusal to let time be an excuse. The world is filled with stories of individuals who started careers in their 40s, wrote best-selling books in their 50s, launched businesses in their 60s, and inspired millions well into their 70s and 80s. What made them different wasn't the number of candles on their birthday cake. It was the belief that there was still more within them to give. There is a certain sharpness that only age can bring, a depth of emotion, an awareness of life's fragility, and an urgency that pushes you to make your days count. That energy can move mountains when you decide to use it. It's easy to underestimate what time has taught you, but those lessons are gold. You've lived. You've endured. You've learned what matters and what doesn't. You've seen what breaks you and what builds you. And that experience, that's your fuel. That's your edge. That's your advantage. When you think about reinvention, don't think of it as starting over from scratch. You're not beginning again. You're beginning from wisdom, from truth, from experience. That's not weakness. That's strength. The time you've lived has carved you into someone who is more ready than ever before. So many people are waiting for permission to start again, when all they need is permission from themselves. It's not about the date on your ID. It's about the fire in your heart. Age gives you access to that fire. It gives you a clearer sense of your values, your voice, and your vision. That clarity is the most powerful launch pad you'll ever have. Your past doesn't define your future. No matter what has happened to you, what choices you've made, or how far off track you feel you've gone, your future is still unwritten. Too often, people carry their past like a weight, dragging it into every decision, every relationship, and every dream they try to pursue. They think because they failed once, they'll fail again. Because someone betrayed them, they can't trust again. Because they made mistakes, they no longer deserve success or love or joy. That mindset becomes a prison, a story they keep telling themselves without realizing they hold the key to break free. What happened yesterday may have shaped you, but it does not have the power to control you, unless you give it that power. You can acknowledge your past without becoming a prisoner of it. You can learn from your experiences without being defined by them. The most extraordinary transformations often come from people who have known deep pain, failure, regret, or loss, because those experiences become the raw material for growth, clarity, and strength. The past might have introduced the problem, but the future is where you write the solution. Many people live in a loop, reliving their past failures, rehearsing their regrets, replaying their lowest moments, and they use those moments as proof that they'll never rise. But the truth is, the story you tell yourself about your past is more powerful than the past itself. You can look back and say, that broke me. Or you can say, that built me. You can say, I was abandoned. Or you can say, I became independent. The meaning you assign to your past determines whether it becomes your prison or your platform. Change begins the moment you stop letting your past be your excuse. Too many people hold themselves back because they think the version of them that made mistakes is the only version that exists. But you are not static. You are evolving. You are capable of new choices, new beliefs, and new results. Reinvention doesn't mean pretending your past didn't happen. It means owning your past while refusing to be limited by it. It means saying, yes, that happened to me, but that's not where the story ends. A growth demands that you challenge your old identity. If you keep seeing yourself through the lens of who you were, you'll never allow yourself to step into who you're becoming. That's why forgiveness is so powerful. Not just forgiving others, but forgiving yourself. You must let go of the guilt, the shame, and the judgment that's been holding you down. You don't need to earn a second chance. You already have one. Every single day you wake up with breath in your lungs. Life is not looking at your past to determine your worth. It's looking at your actions now. You cannot rewrite your history, but you can write a new chapter. Every powerful story has a turning point, when the hero decides they are no longer willing to live in the shadows of what once was. That decision is available to you now. Your past may have introduced wounds, but healing is found in your present choices. It may have set a certain tone, but you hold the pen now. The next sentence, the next page, the next chapter. That's all yours. You get to decide how the rest of your story unfolds. Transformation requires a decision, not a wish, not a hope, not a passive desire to. See what happens. Real change begins the moment you make a clear, committed, and sometimes uncomfortable decision to let go of who you've been and step into who you truly want to become. Until that moment happens, you'll continue to live in cycles, circling the same problems, repeating the same patterns, and making the same excuses. You can read every book, attend every seminar, and listen to every motivational speaker, but until you decide, truly decide, to change, nothing changes. Most people don't lack the ability to change. They lack the decision to begin. They wait for motivation to strike, for conditions to be perfect, for someone else to give them permission. But transformation doesn't show up for the hesitant. It responds to the bold. It responds to those who look at their current life, recognize it's not aligned with their true potential, and say, enough. I won't live like this anymore. That single moment of decision holds more power than 1,000 days of procrastination. One decision rooted in clarity, hunger, and commitment can redirect the entire course of a life. We often overestimate the role of circumstances and underestimate the power of choice. People say things like, if I had more time, if I had more money, if I had more support. But those are conditions, not causes. The real cause of transformation is a shift in your mind. A shift where you no longer accept what's been comfortable but unfulfilling. A shift where you stop tolerating what drains you. A shift where you realize that nothing changes until you do. And that change starts by deciding that who you are becoming matters more than who you've been. Making a decision means cutting off all other options. It's not, I'll try. It's a firm, internal, this is happening. There's a level of commitment that overrides fear, doubt, and even failure. Because once you decide, the path appears. It may not be easy. It may test every part of you. But the energy that decision creates will fuel your focus, your discipline, and your resilience. That's the kind of decision that pulls you forward when the old you tries to pull you back. People often say they're stuck. But the truth is, they're undecided. They're trying to keep one foot in their comfort zone and one foot in growth. But you can't evolve by staying safe. You have to choose discomfort for the sake of progress. That choice is never convenient, but it is necessary. It's the choice to speak up when you've always stayed quiet. The choice to walk away from what drains you, even when it feels familiar. The choice to invest in yourself, even when others don't understand. That's the fire that forges transformation. There's a difference between wanting to change and being willing to do what change demands. Wanting is easy. It's emotional. But being willing is active. It's rooted in discipline. It's the decision to act on your values instead of your feelings. Feelings are fleeting. Decisions are foundational. The people who transform their lives, who rebuild, who grow, who become unrecognizable from who they once were. They're not luckier or more talented. They simply decided that their future mattered more than their fear. That decision alone made them unstoppable. Pain is preparation, not punishment. It's easy to believe that pain is life's way of working against you, of keeping you stuck or broken. But the truth is that pain is often life's most powerful tool for growth. It doesn't show up to destroy you. It shows up to shape you. Every moment of heartbreak, failure, loss, rejection, or struggle is a seed for strength, if you choose to see it that way. Pain can be the very thing that wakes you up to who you really are and what you're really made of. It forces you to face parts of yourself that comfort and ease will never reveal. When things are going well, it's easy to stay stagnant. But when pain strikes, it demands a response. It demands growth, reflection, and ultimately transformation. Most people spend so much of their lives running from pain, They numb it, avoid it, pretend it doesn't exist. But what they don't realize is that the very pain they're avoiding might hold the breakthrough they've been searching for. Pain invites you into the deepest levels of awareness. It strips away distractions, forces honesty, and puts a spotlight on what truly matters. It has the power to realign your priorities, sharpen your vision, and push you out of the lies you've been telling yourself. Pain doesn't punish, it purifies. It strips away the inessential and leaves you with only what's real. There is a kind of wisdom that only pain can teach. You can read about resilience, but until you've been knocked down and had to rise, you don't understand its depth. You can talk about strength, but it's pain that tests your limits and shows you just how far you can go. It reveals your inner fortitude, your hidden courage, and the fire that lives beneath your surface. Pain introduces you to the version of you that comfort kept hidden. It prepares you not just to survive, but to lead, to love deeply, to pursue with passion, and to live with purpose. When you begin to see pain as preparation, everything shifts. Suddenly, your setbacks aren't the end. They're the beginning of something greater. The betrayal wasn't a dead end. It was redirection. The loss wasn't a curse. It was the opening to deeper compassion. The failure wasn't your identity. It was a lesson that refined your vision. Pain becomes the classroom, and you are the student. The more open you are to learning, the more power you gain. And with every painful chapter you move through, you are being equipped for the next level of your life. Life does not hand you pain to hurt you. It hands you pain to strengthen you. It does not push you into the fire to burn you. It pushes you through the fire so you come out forged. But that outcome depends on your perspective. If you see pain as punishment, you'll resist it, resent it, and remain stuck in it. But if you see it as preparation, you'll lean in, grow through it, and rise beyond it. Some of the most incredible breakthroughs in human history, in art, leadership, innovation, and healing, were born from pain. Not despite it, but because of it. What feels unbearable today may become the very story that helps someone else heal tomorrow. Your pain has purpose, but it's up to you to extract the meaning from it. No one escapes pain, but those who grow from it, who let it shape them, who see it as the fire that reveals who they were meant to be. Those are the ones who don't just endure life, they elevate through it. You must stop waiting and start acting, because the longer you wait, the more life slips through your fingers without you even noticing. Waiting often disguises itself as preparation. You think you're being patient, waiting for the right moment, the right resources, or the right mindset. But what you're really doing is postponing your power. The perfect time doesn't exist. There's never a moment when everything aligns just right, where there's no risk, no fear, no uncertainty. If you're waiting for absolute clarity before taking the first step, you'll stay frozen. Action breeds clarity. Action creates progress. Action leads to growth. And until you begin, you're only rehearsing life in your mind, not actually living it. People waste years waiting for permission. Permission from others, from society, from their past, or even from themselves. But the truth is, no one is going to hand you a written invitation to begin. The green light you're hoping for isn't coming from the outside. It's an internal switch you have to flip on your own. Every moment you hesitate is a moment you're giving away your agency to fear, doubt, and indecision. You were not born to stand still. You were born to move, to act, to create momentum and direction. Movement is what brings life to your vision. Waiting starves it. The most successful people are not the ones who waited until they felt completely ready. They're the ones who acted despite being afraid, despite not knowing every detail. They started messy. They failed. They learned. They adapted. You don't need to know the entire path to start walking. You just need to take the next step. Once you act, you learn more than years of planning could ever teach you. It's in the doing, not the dreaming, where real transformation takes place. Waiting feels safe, but it's deceptive. It lulls you into comfort while your potential quietly slips away. You convince yourself you'll start next week, next month, next year. But time doesn't pause while you plan. Opportunities don't wait for your confidence to catch up. The life you want isn't found in endless preparation. It's found in courageous execution. Fear will always exist in the background. It's not something you overcome before you start. It's something you carry with you as you move forward. The moment you act despite fear, you weaken its grip. Taking action doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. In fact, you will. But mistakes are not the enemy. Inaction is. Mistakes shape you, refine you, and give you real feedback. You learn what works, what doesn't, and who you're becoming along the way. But you don't get that experience by sitting on the sidelines. You get it by getting in the game, even when you're unsure. People who wait for confidence to show up before acting never realize that confidence is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite. Every great achievement, every reinvention, Every transformation begins with a decision to stop waiting and start doing. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one move. You just need to begin, take one brave step, make one decision, build momentum from there. The longer you hesitate, the heavier your dreams begin to feel. The longer you delay, the more you start to believe that maybe it's not meant for you. But it is. It's meant for the version of you who's willing to act. The world doesn't change for those who sit still. It changes for those who move, who risk, who dare. And that first act of courage, that first moment you decide to move, is the doorway to everything you've been waiting for. You were born to soar, not settle. Deep within you is a drive, a hunger, a spark that was never meant to be dimmed by doubt or buried beneath comfort. You weren't placed on this earth just to survive, pay bills, and blend into the background. You were created with gifts, with passions, with a vision inside you that's uniquely yours. But over time, life teaches you to shrink. It teaches you to play small, to conform, to silence your own voice in exchange for acceptance. The world, without even realizing it, starts convincing you that dreaming big is dangerous, that failure is shameful, and that settling is safe. But safe doesn't satisfy the soul. Settling doesn't ignite joy, it only delays regret. The problem is, too many people confuse stability with purpose. They build lives that look good on the outside but feel empty on the inside. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, routines that numb them, all because it feels safer than stepping into the unknown. But the unknown is where growth happens. It's where passion is discovered. It's where your highest potential lives. Soaring means breaking free from limits you didn't even know you were living with. It means refusing to let fear dictate your choices. It means asking more of yourself, even when everything around you says, just be grateful for what you have. Gratitude and growth are not enemies. You can be grateful and still reach for more. You were not meant to wake up every day feeling uninspired. You were not designed to carry dreams that remain locked away in the maybe someday file. You were born with the ability to imagine something greater for your life. And that ability is not a coincidence, it's a calling. There is something inside you that's meant to be expressed, unleashed, shared. And the tragedy isn't in trying and failing. The tragedy is in never trying at all. Settling might protect you from disappointment, but it also protects you from greatness. It shelters you from rejection, yes. But it also shelters you from discovery, passion, and the full expression of who you truly are. The people who soar are not fearless. They just refuse to live trapped by their fear. They take the risk. They follow the pull in their chest, even when they don't have all the answers. They trust that the cost of settling is far greater than the cost of trying and stumbling along the way. And they understand that failure is not the opposite of soaring. It's part of the process. Every time you stretch beyond what's familiar, every time you speak your truth, every time you choose courage over comfort, you rise. You rise above mediocrity, above excuses, above limitations that were never truly yours to begin with. There's something about soaring that can't be explained until you experience it. It's the moment you realize you're no longer living by default. It's when you start building a life by design, guided not by fear, but by vision. It's when you wake up with energy, because you know you're becoming someone you're proud of. And the beautiful part is, soaring doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean you won't fall. It just means you never again agree to stay grounded when you were made for the sky. The moment you decide you were born for more is the moment everything starts to change. The moment you stop negotiating with your potential, stop apologizing for your ambition, and stop tolerating anything less than what sets your soul on fire. That's when you begin to soar.